a major milestone for the Pan Mass Challenge. The most successful athletic fundraising event in the country is celebrating 40 years of riders hitting the road to raise money for life-saving cancer care and research. Last year, more than 6,000 cyclists brought in a record $56 million, every single penny of which went to the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. And over its 40-year history, the PMC has raised more than $650 million in all. This year, more than 6,800 cyclists will ride as many as 192 miles each, among them so-called living proof riders like my next guest, Taylor Chinitz. Good to meet you, Taylor. You'll explain what that means in a second. Lisa Hughes, also one of the biggest PMC enthusiasts, WBZ News anchor. Great to see you, Lisa.
Nice to see you, Jim.
And the man who started it all, and I know it because it says he's head staff on his shirt, so he must be. That'd be Billy Starr. Billy, it's great to see you.
Good to be back.
Can you tell us, what's the genesis of this thing again 40 years ago, please?
So this came a few years after my mother, uncle, and cousin all died of cancer. And I was in my 20s, and I wanted to do something. And somewhere about 5 years into doing it, did I see that I actually had the talents to build this out. The athletics, the marketing, just the will to make a sport, a thon of this nature, but it really didn't exist.
But at the beginning, it was just really a tribute to your mother, right? It was not your family. It was not like you envisioned.
Well, I didn't put my mother to the side. I didn't call it the Billy Starr Memorial Challenge. I call it the Pan Mass Challenge because, amongst other things, Jim, and this will test your advanced degrees, did you know that Pan means a consensus of ideas?
I do now, actually.
There you go.
So, yes.
So cross state. I wanted to get a group of people together to raise money.
Did you know what Pan meant before he told you? You're a big-time news anchor. Do you know?
I think I had heard Billy say that before, so the answer is yes, but because he told me.
So is this 9 for you? How many
Number
is this?
9, yes.
9, I remember from discussion last year. Did you even ride a bike when you started doing this thing?
I didn't.
So what happened?
I moved next door to Billy.
Well, that can do it, probably.
That was what started it. But I'd always wanted to ride, and people I had talked to who had taken part in the Pan Mass Challenge had said, you got to do it. And so I decided I would just sign up and then get the bike. And if I signed up first, I knew I'd do it. It's a couple of really good souls taught me how to ride a road bike, and I rode in 2011.
Are you different in any way, do you think, because of this than you were before?
I think I'm more grateful, I think. And I think I'm more likely to try things that I wouldn't have tried out of some sense of fear, because this was something I fell in love with.
Now, Taylor, you started this when you were a kid, yes? 2011. Yep. How old were you in 2011?
Oh, gosh.
Whatever. Close. Yeah. How close? You were a teenager?
15.
Okay,
yeah.
fine.
Don't panic.
And was it your father and a younger sibling? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, just my dad.
And why'd you do it? Why'd you guys decide to do it
then? The Kids PMC?
Yeah.
He was involved in managing it, running it, so of course he pulled me in. And I rode my bike as a kid, so it was just kind of a natural.
What did it feel like as a teenager doing it for the first time?
To be honest, I don't think at the time you really understand what you're doing. It's just this fun event and a bunch of kids riding their bikes around a loop. But, as time goes on, you start to learn the meaning as I got older.
Well, you particularly got to learn the meaning in 2017. What happened to you?
2018.
2018,
yep,
what
so
happened?
Just a year ago. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma after being a PMC rider for 6 years. And it was just out of the blue. I was young and healthy, and I started to feel sick, and it was a slow progression. Ended up in the hospital and kind of finished with a cancer diagnosis, which was something I obviously never expected.
How are you now?
Good.
Are you good?
I feel great. Not entirely out of the woods, but hoping I won't need more treatment, and I feel super healthy. I've been exercising every day since I finished.
Do you appreciate the incredible, I mean, as an outsider, meeting you and reading about you and now meeting you in the flesh, I mean, the irony is just unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. It was ridiculous to me. I mean, and it was funny, right when I was diagnosed, one of the first things that popped into my head was the PMC, and just my PMC family.
You're not exactly a touchy-feely kind of guy. I mean, can I say that without offending you? You're not. But when you hear a story like hers, of which you've heard thousands and thousands, what does that do to you?
if I were to say that when we started, in 1980, the 80s in general, riding 200 miles was considered a hard guy event. We were like 85% male. Title IX, et cetera, women into sports. Then, with the growing awareness of Dana-Farber and what the work was and what the impact was with events like ours, and we're kind of singular, the most natural progression for people like Taylor and older than Taylor was to return to normalcy. That's all anybody wants. So this year, fast forward, we have 935 people who we call living proof, cancer survivors who are riding and or volunteering, probably about 600 who are riding a bike. And I used to joke, of course, like what could be more grateful than riding your bike in the rain? To just be one of the group, not be special in that way, but to be one with yourself and your body and your thoughts, and it's not lost on me.
So let me ask one. Are you nervous before doing this thing? You are?
I am.
Nervous about what?
I don't know. I want to make sure that I've hydrated enough. I want to make sure that I've eaten the right way. But more than anything, I'm excited. And, when Billy was talking about the living proof riders, I train with 4 living proof riders. And I think being with Taylor and being on the road, even though they are like everyone that they're riding, they remind us constantly why we're doing it, because that's the outcome we want.
How are you approaching this? How are you feeling about this?
I'm excited. I'm also emotional. I'm afraid I'm going to cry, at every time anyone says anything to me.
And they will.
I know. But I don't know. It's such a cool thing for me personally to think about that 7 months ago I was having trouble walking down the street, and now I'm about to get on my bike and ride almost 200 miles.
It's unbelievable.
It makes me so excited, and it's definitely going to be feel different this year.
So what does $650 million accomplish? Soon to be $700 and some million. What's it accomplished, Billy?
Well, from when I started, pretty well assures that people like Taylor are going to be just fine, as opposed to a 20% shot. It's probably an 85 to 90% shot. And, certain cancers have been, become harder than others, but success on cancer treatment and across the board continues to improve. What it continues to say to me is, it's going to take a ton of money. I think we all know that. It's a multi-generational affair, but, we're moving the needle, and we're closer by the mile. We're doing our part, and we want the best brains going into cancer research. We don't need
nervous,
another.
By the way, we know they're nervous. Are you nervous? You're in charge of the whole damn thing.
Are you? In a different way.
In what kind of way?
I got a lot on my plate.
Congratulations on 40 incredible years, Billy Starr, Lisa Hughes. You're great.
Thank you, Jim.
Congratulations to you. It's
Thank
really
you.
so exciting.